This video is for educational and entertainment use only. The views in this video do not necessarily represent the views or life of Marlon Dixon.
All right, you guys, so welcome back to Duffle LO, the sit down. And on this episode, what we're gonna do, we're gonna talk about some psychology type stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into it. I'm gonna share my screen so you guys can see the article that we're gonna go over. And here it is right here. Let me move myself down. Right down, there we go. Exit out that. We don't like the ads, but here we go right here from Psychology Today. And we article by Grant Hillary Brenner, medical doctor. And as you guys can see, it says procrastination, self-control, emotion, procrastination, and the brain. So we all know that a lot of people procrastinate. They got a lot of stuff that they say that they want to do, but then they never get around to it. We know a lot of people are overly emotional and can't control their emotions. So we know some children don't have self-control. They're not taught self-control. So this is a research article that's about it. So the new research identifies a key brain region involved with procrastination. So it's a part of your brain of why you be procrastinating. So let's get into it. So here go the key points. So in order to get to work on unpleasant tasks, people must manage negative emotions. And we all know there's a lot of negativity going around, but in order for you to work on these unpleasant tasks, which is reading research, the boring stuff where people would say something that's not so exciting, you need to be able to manage your emotions. Procrastination happens when people are unable to cope effectively with negative feelings, seeking short-term relief. What we call that in society today is instant gratification. Brain regions involved in cognitive control, notably the right dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, are involved in necessary emotional inhibition. So the prefrontal cortex is here. The prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that it doesn't fully develop into a human that's 25 years old or around that age, because your brain is constantly developing. At 25, that's when you officially, they would call grown. And your prefrontal cortex is like basically the region that does like your cognitive abilities, your reasoning abilities. Like that's what that is. That's housed. So self-compassion may enable us to better balance immediate emotional relief with the pursuit of long-term goals. And you know, a lot of this long-term stuff is like, it's not just a, oh, I want to do this next month, I want to do this next year. Like long-term goals, 5+ years, 10 years, to where you know that you're on a long shot. So let's get directly into the article now. So while it would be dangerous perfectionists to try to do everything all at once without prioritizing or making choices to edit, we delay important tasks past their due date at our own peril. And who hasn't noticed that when we do get going on something we've been putting off, it often ends up being more gratifying than we imagine. So we all know you really want to do it. And I can say this for myself, like with this channel right now, like I've been putting it off, like starting it up so long. Like, man, I got to start it back up. But I've been thinking about how to go about it in a new format. And it literally took me an hour to think of this new format. And it literally took me, as you guys can see over here, it took me an hour to figure out how to put that right there. So it's like, that's 2 hours, but I've been procrastinating for 6, 7, 8, 9 months. Like, so I suffer from that as well, but I'm trying to get back to it because I want to get you guys this information. Wang, Zhang, and Feng, authors of the recent study Brain and Cognition 2021, note that prior research shows that procrastination is associated with a variety of negative outcomes, from poor health to money problems. So when you worried about money, or you worried about your health, or you have poor health decisions that you be making in your life, you seem to procrastinate more. Why? Because I have other things to worry about. You know, man, this money ain't right. Oh man, I want to go to the gym, but I ain't been to the gym yet. So you procrastinate on everything. When we procrastinate, we tend to get self-critical. It's self-associated with a variety of negative outcomes, including increased depression. We start beating ourselves down. We start thinking that we can't do it. We say that we can't do it. Can't shouldn't be in your vocabulary when you're talking about yourself, ladies and gentlemen. When suppressing emotion serves us, people are more likely to procrastinate on tasks perceived to be aversive or unpleasant, we face a choice, whether conscious or not, to push through the negative emotions to get the job done or give ourselves the temporary relief of delaying, often over and over again. The effective strategy here is expressive suppression. By exercising inhibitory cognitive control, we can manage emotional intensity and get the job done. So we put it off so long that in reality, we need to say, you know what, let me just go ahead, not just push through this, but let me sit down and let me just focus on what I know I need to focus on, because it's going to be better for me rather than it being to my peril, which is bad for you. Research shows that inhibitory control is a core executive function, enabling people to delay gratification, to say no to distraction and temptation when we could get quick emotional relief from saying yes to any one of a number of other activities. When faced with important tasks, the most adaptive coping strategy is to complete them in a timely manner, providing enduring relief and improving performance. So now it's hard to tell a person no. That's what they're saying. They're saying it's hard to tell a person no, and it's easy to tell them, yeah, like, oh yeah, let's go on here, let's do it. Yeah, let's go and let's do it. But when you know that a person is trying to get you to do something that's not to your own betterment, it's hard for you to say, oh no, they might say I'm lame, no peer pressure started coming in. Oh, they might say I look silly, and they might say I'm goofy. People gonna think about, when in reality, you're gonna end up saying yeah. But if you said no, you could delay the gratification. So when you instant gratification is like Instagram, Facebook. Everybody put a picture up and they want all these likes. And if they don't get enough likes that they think they should get, they delete the picture and wait to post it again. Delayed gratification is, they did a psychology experiment on this where they gave two kids marshmallows, where they gave multiple kids marshmallows. They said, hey, if you sit right here for 5 minutes and don't eat this one marshmallow, when I come back in 5 minutes, I'll give you another marshmallow. All the kids that decided not to wait the 5 minutes, those are instant gratification kids. And they future, look into the research and you'll see what happened. Everybody that delayed the gratification, look what they ended up. Instead of them having one marshmallow, they ended up with 2 marshmallows because they delayed their gratification. So they had a better life, and their future also was better as well compared to the other group. Looking under the hood to identify what part or parts of the brain are involved in expressive suppression and procrastination. Researchers recruited over 200 university students to participate in an MRI-based experiment. Participants completed the general procrastination scale and a portion of the emotional regulation questionnaire that measures the use of expressive suppression. Participants underwent brain scans looking for correlation in the size of gray matter, regions in the brain, and measures of interest. Gray matter represents areas of the brain with nerve cell bodies as contrasted with white matter, which roughly corresponds to the wiring connecting different GM regions, the gray matter regions. GM, which is gray matter, volume is reflective of involvement of that brain region when larger or smaller by comparison. You want to have a lot of gray matter. The reason why you want a lot of gray matter, because it's where you know how to do something. So when you know how to play basketball, the area of that brain, the more the gray matter it has, the better that basketball player will be, especially with their skills and everything. And plus the gray matter is muscle memory, all that stuff. You understand how to do it. Like, the body is so fascinating to research. Like, you guys have to really get into it and start to understand it. Data analysis showed that first, procrastination was inversely correlated with expressive suppression. You suppressing expressing yourself. Now let me say that slowly. You're suppressing, which means you're not really doing something, expressing yourself. So rather than you being who you are and being like you are, you're suppressing it. You're being someone else that you know you're not. Lower procrastination was indeed associated with greater expressive suppression. Gray matter volume in one brain region, the right dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, was associated with the great expressive suppression. Furthermore, the relationship between stronger expressive suppression and reduced procrastination was correlated with greater gray matter volume in the same brain region, suggesting that the right is directly involved in inhibitory control via suppression expression. Remember, I told y'all earlier, your prefrontal cortex is about your reasoning, your analytical skills, like how you analyze stuff. So you got to really think about when you suppressing stuff. When you pushing it, what they say, I'm pushing it to the back of my head. That's because it's right here in the front, and you pushing it to the back. You're suppressing it. This research further furthers our understanding of procrastination by identifying a key brain area, the right involved in cognitive control where aversive emotions are involved. In their discussion, Wang and colleagues described that procrastination is the result of emotion regulation failure, accompanied by greater awareness of negative emotion and the use of short-term emotion repair strategies, which come at the expense of better long-term planning. So you guys also want to look into ego depletion. So ego depletion is basically like, you always acting happy and you always suppressing. Basically this, they kind of connected. You suppressing what you actually want to do, and you can only do that for so long before you deplete your ego, and now you in a weakened state to where now you start to get agitated, irritated, and angry with people because you tired of being phony. This is known of all key functions, including inventory. Future research can extend to a broader group of people, use experimental designs with actual tasks and looking at brain function in addition to anatomical differences during different performance conditions. How we deal with self-criticism is central to our capacity to succeed in the face of insecurity and self-doubt. Recent research found that while people with a history of childhood maltreatment were more likely to be self-critical, and that their self-criticism was correlated with a greater adult psychopathology, which is mental illness. The presence of greater self-compassion blunted the negative impact of self. So now what they're saying is, and I say this all the time, when people mistreat their kids, those kids grow up and they have mental illnesses. Why? Because they're so self-critical of themselves that they try to become perfectionists, and they be wrong at so many things because they can't get it right. You can't be right at something that you don't understand. But because they was treated a certain way, how their parents treated them, now every time they wrong, although you can be wrong and then you practice to get right, when they wrong, they really mistreat themselves. They wrong, they really mistreat themselves. So the more they wrong, they just keep mistreating themselves. But the presence of greater self-compassion blunted the negative impact. So now when you have, man, you know what? I'm gonna keep at it. I'm gonna keep grinding. I'm gonna keep putting forth effort. You got that mentality, you're going to get better. I'm gonna keep with time, I'm gonna get better. With time, I'm gonna get better. So it's not knocking you down. That's what this is saying. This suggests that when we are tempted to use procrastination to manage negative emotions about a task rather than beat ourselves up, we are best served by gentle recognition and kindness toward ourselves in the service of attending both to our short-term emotional needs and long-term goals. I'm going to get there when I get there, but I know I'm on my way there. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to give yourself that time. Delay that gratification and know that you're going to get there. And when you get there, you reach that mountaintop, you look down and, man, I did it. So indeed, greater self-compassion is correlated with reduced procrastination for exercise and academics. Because you have greater compassion for yourself, you're not going to procrastinate to exercise. And you're not going to procrastinate that much when it comes down to your academics. So these studies is kind of like, in a way, should be what we call common sense, but they like to study this stuff to make sure that people actually know what they're doing. Cultivating self-compassion may help us regulate negative emotions more effectively, to procrastinate less and enjoy other benefits to health and wellness. That's what all this stuff is about, being healthy. Okay, here are the last two paragraphs right here. By developing the ability to suppress the expression of emotion when we need to, we can manage difficult emotions to complete tasks rather than using the easier but ultimately problematic strategy of behavioral disengagement, which means we're avoiding the task. No, I ain't trying to do that right now. It's also important to note that while expressive suppression may serve us well when we need to press forward on a task perceived to be aversive, at other times we need to be able to freely express ourselves. For example, in the service of deepening relationships, opening up to others, sharing and being vulnerable is necessary for closeness and mutuality. Free association. Please look into free association. This is what I did when I first started this channel. I was free associated without understanding what it was that I was doing, because I hadn't went to school for psychology yet and bumped into Freudism. Now, Sigmund Freud is a psychologist, and what he says with free association, a person just sits there and they say whatever comes to their mind without suppressing anything. So anything that comes in your mind, anything that comes out of your mouth that you believe, that you think, that you thought of, that you feel, any of your emotions, you just let it all out. When you let that stuff out, you take the pressure off of your brain, off of your body, and you relieve the stress off of you. So this is a way that people can relieve stress. Also, like I said, I got the books about stress and how it affects the mind and the body as well. If you guys into that. Developing adaptive emotional regulation strategies tailored to different situations ultimately is a winning strategy, enabling us to modulate emotions in balance with the demands of a variety of circumstances to create synergy with cognitive control and effective experience. Some tasks requires us to include emotions in the mix, notably those requiring creativity and originality, while others are easier if we don't think too much about how bad we feel about them. Of course, if we feel good about doing something, if we are more connected to the carrot than the stick, we don't tend to procrastinate. So I'm gonna explain this to you. When you truly want to do something, you're gonna go through the fight to get to what you're trying to get to because you truly want to do it. When you don't want to do nothing, it makes you feel down. So, like, let's say you really actually like your job, you wouldn't mind going to work. You'll wake up every day, no matter if you got good sleep, bad sleep. When you go to work, you still gonna have a good day. You're not gonna procrastinate. But let's say you go into your job just for the check and you don't like the job. You don't get enough sleep. You're gonna be groggy at work. You're gonna be mad at work, irritated, agitated. You ain't gonna want to be around everybody because you're not doing something that you truly want to do. So when you look around the world, let me stop sharing. Stop sharing. There we go. So when you look around the world, a lot of people are doing things that they really per se do not want to do. And that's why they feeling the way that they feeling, because everybody want to have everything, but they don't want to work to get to those things. So because they don't want to get to those things, they procrastinate to get to those things, and then they beating themselves up because they can't do it. As well as you've seen in them, how you treat your children in their childhood, it affects them in adulthood. So we got to understand this stuff. So that's all I got to say. Hopefully you guys learned something today. Like I said, I got the books in the link down below where you can just shoot me an email. I'll put all the titles down and let you guys know like what the books entail a little bit. But you should tell by the title, be honest with you. I got to get that on my face, whatever that was. But hopefully you guys learned something. Someone just made a comment about how I'm never sit still. See, look, procrastinate, they can't sit still. They instant gratification. So it's like, hopefully you guys learned something from this video, and I'll see you guys on the next episode, because the next episode is going to get critical because we're going to talk about the U.S. military and what's going on. But that's all I got to say for this video.
This video is for educational and entertainment use only. The views in this video do not necessarily represent the views or life of Marlon Dixon.